Coming up, GOP presidential candidate Ron Paul's got some explaining to do after racist comments are published in newsletters bearing his name, including one that calls African Americans, quote, animals. They're old newsletters, but he's still trying to explain them. And Al Gore isn't the only candidate who can claim he's had a ballot problem in Florida. Now Rudy's got one, too. Those stories coming up in tonight's Winners and Losers, plus we'll read some of your emails. Tonight, our new segment, On Their Trail. The candidates' misstatements, blunders, and cheap shots on the road to the White House. In just the past couple of days, some doozies. Still with us, Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell. Number 5, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani attributed his 4th place finish in New Hampshire to a campaign strategy focused on essentially ignoring Iowa and New Hampshire and starting his campaign in Florida.
We were prepared for this from the very beginning. It fits into how we looked at this from the very beginning about there being at least 29 primaries and caucuses between January 3rd and February 5th.
But statistics compiled by ABC News show that Giuliani held more events in New Hampshire than any other GOP candidate except for Mitt Romney. Significant?
Yes. This is like the kid.
He says the numbers aren't, he doesn't believe the numbers, but I would think that they could at least be able to then give us the numbers.
Listen, if you held 126 events in New Hampshire, you should remember that. If you spent $2.5 million on ads, you should have noticed. But more importantly is the impression that you're the kid on the JV basketball team who just missed 7 layups in a row, and you say, I wasn't really trying. It's like it just comes across as whiny and pitiful.
What do you think, Lawrence?
He was trying to get traction with all those trips to New Hampshire, and he was going to put money into New Hampshire if by making all those trips he could get traction. He didn't really do a big media buy in New Hampshire, and so now he claims, I never really cared about New Hampshire. I mean, remember, Romney has a vacation home in New Hampshire. That's the only way he got to New Hampshire more than Giuliani.
All right, our number 4 in the misstatements, blunders, and cheap shots. Senator John McCain's less than victorious victory speech. Imagine hearing a speech like this at every State of the Union.
They don't send us to Washington to stroke our egos, to keep this beautiful, bountiful, blessed country safe, prosperous, and proud.
You know, Lawrence, I was really surprised, and I was with a group of people who don't cover politics for a living. They just all kept asking me, why is he reading? The reason he may be reading is he's probably better still reading than he might be off the cuff.
That's the campaign's decision. I saw him at a few live events over the course of the weekend. He's not that good. He just isn't that good live. He's telling a very old story which connects to his heroism in Vietnam and to his political career. He gets lost in it sometimes. He makes references that don't make sense to anyone under 40. So writing is the best thing you can do for him. Now, the price they pay is they have a guy who's reading a speech in a stiff way. That's better than a guy who leaves out the key points that the campaign wants him to say.
In this television age, Rachel, I mean, put aside politics for a minute. I mean, just in terms of image. I mean, everyone's talking about Barack Obama because he's such a great speaker and he inspires people. You know, you're never going to inspire anyone, with this.
But it wasn't just that he was reading it. It was that he was reading it poorly. It was that he was reading it obviously. He was so obviously out of step with the really fired up supporters in the room. I mean, he had just won, but it ended up coming off like a runner-up to the valedictorian speech at a high school. It was actually kind of sad to watch.
Yeah.
Mike Huckabee, I thought, actually blew him away and should have gotten more credit for his very lighthearted, very confident, very happy speech last night.
That's Huckabee's candidacy right there.
I guess that's
his
true.
ability to be able to talk off the cuff.
Actually going whole hog and putting in an Elvis reference, I thought, he's going for broke. He actually just said Elvis. Yeah.
Number 3. If you thought that Hillary Clinton's emotional outburst raised some eyebrows, how about John Edwards' decision to respond to it this way?
I think what we need in a commander-in-chief is strength and resolve. And presidential campaigns are tough business, but being president of the United States is also a very tough business. And the president of the United States is faced with very, very difficult challenges every single day.
Rachel, is the translation there, girls shouldn't cry?
Well, that was a misstep. And I actually had Mudcat Saunders, who's a friend of mine who's been an advisor to Edwards. I had him on my radio show at the day of the Clinton event. He said the same thing. And my reaction was like, that was harsh. It just seemed out of line. I saw Edwards speak in New Hampshire on Sunday. The most affecting thing he said was, you can trust a politician with your life when you believe for them that it is personal and not political. For him to then turn around and attack her for taking something personally was completely the wrong move.
Well, and also, Lawrence, Romney and George Bush can cry, but Hillary can't get emotional?
Sure. Take a look at Bob Woodward's book, Studying the Bush Presidency. There are 4 or 5 incidents of George Bush crying, and which Bush talks about. He's not embarrassed about it. He talks about it in the interviews. And, you know, Edwards is just wildly off base here.
Number 2, I want to save a lot of time for number 1 because it's absolutely my favorite. But number 2, Mitt Romney tells the New Hampshire crowd that because of his own money, lobbyists don't raise money for him.
I don't have years and years of favors I have to repay. Lobbyists who've raised all sorts of money for me.
It's a nice campaign line, but it's just not really true. According to the Washington Post fact-checker records show at least 13 fundraisers for Romney are also federally registered lobbyists, and some of these people have been active in GOP fundraising circles for years. So, Lawrence, is it time for him to stop that line?
Yeah, and all of his big contributors essentially are associated with very big corporations in this country. So they're not registered lobbyists, but they're CEOs of various corporations that have strong interests in the federal government, and they would be calling up President Romney on certain issues.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, Mitt Romney's big campaign change right now has been to say that he's an outsider, he's a non-politician. This is the former governor of Massachusetts, who is also the son of a governor of Michigan. I mean, he's a second-generation politician. For him to be pulling the "I'm not a politician, I'm an outsider" thing, and now the "I'm not a business guy" thing, it's, I think he doth protest too much.
This is my favorite one. Number 1, speak English to become a citizen. Rudy Giuliani told a New Hampshire crowd on Friday, the final end result about becoming a citizen, you should be able to have to read English, write English, and speak English if you want to become a citizen. And then he launched this campaign ad in Florida.
El presidente Reagan depositó su confianza en él para combatir el crimen.
Soy Rudy Giuliani y apruebo este mensaje.
I'm sorry.
I mean, come on, Lawrence. That's classic.
It's on the loathsome side, Dan. I mean, here's somebody who's trying to exploit this kind of vote, this kind of anti-immigrant vote here in this country, and then to do ads like that. But there's political hypocrisy all over the English language issue in the United States, and Giuliani is the epitome of this.
Yeah. I mean, how do you say hypocrite in Spanish?
I mean, come on. I mean, he's sitting there in Spanish.
Yes.
I mean,
at the end of it, he says, "Soy Rudy Giuliani."
Yeah, I approve this. Mi amo, I don't even speak Spanish. So what was it? Mi amo Rudy Giuliani. I approve this message. I mean, it's like, it's crazy.
It's hugely embarrassing. I mean, here's what Giuliani's done. He's got this record on immigration that he wants to run away from, and so he's decided to pick these little specific things to be a tough guy on. He's picked this English-only thing. Remember when he got the endorsement from the "You're in America, speak English-only" cheesesteak guy in Philly, and he put that guy out in the press to vouch for him? If that's what he's going to run for on immigration, well, good luck and buenos noches.
And I don't know how I don't know how much that ad is going to really help him, but because he's anyway. All right, Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, thanks a lot.